6 signs you're dealing with a toxic person. Use Stoic wisdom to regain your power. Welcome. If you're here, it's likely because you've encountered a toxic person, or perhaps you're dealing with one right now. We've all been there, whether it's someone in your family, a colleague at work, or even a friend. These individuals can drain you emotionally, and they may leave you questioning yourself. It's exhausting, isn't it? And sometimes you might wonder, how do I deal with people like this? How do I protect my peace without cutting them off entirely? Well, you're not alone in this. We all want healthier, more fulfilling relationships, and in our quest to navigate them, we can often turn to the wisdom of those who face similar challenges. People like the Stoics. Now, Stoicism is an ancient philosophy, but its teachings hold powerful, timeless insights into managing our emotions, maintaining our peace, and cultivating resilience. And today, we're going to dive deep into this ancient wisdom to help you recognize the signs of toxic behavior and show you how to protect yourself, no matter what the circumstances are. In this video, we'll explore the 6 key signs you're dealing with a toxic person, all through the lens of Stoic philosophy. You'll learn how to identify these traits in others, and more importantly, how to respond in a way that preserves your emotional well-being, allows you to stay grounded, and helps you navigate toxic dynamics with wisdom and clarity. So, whether you're dealing with a manipulative boss, a friend who constantly disrespects your boundaries, or someone who seems to thrive on negativity, these Stoic principles will help you get a handle on it. Ready? Let's begin. The Stoic perspective on human nature. Before we dive into the specific signs of toxic people, let's take a moment to understand the Stoic perspective on human nature. Stoicism is all about focusing on what we can control, while accepting the things that are outside our control. And at the heart of this philosophy is the belief that human beings are capable of great virtue, but also vulnerable to negative emotions that can lead us astray. Stoics like Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus all wrote extensively about the nature of human beings. They acknowledge that we are, by nature, social creatures. We are meant to live in community, to care for each other, and to strive for excellence in our relationships and actions. However, they also recognize that we are deeply affected by external circumstances, and sometimes that means we encounter people who challenge our peace of mind. According to Stoic philosophy, there are 2 main factors that shape our interactions with others: our perception of them and our response to their actions. In other words, we can't control what others do, but we can control how we react. This is an incredibly important point, especially when dealing with toxic individuals. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that other people's behavior defines our experience, but Stoicism teaches us that the real power lies within us. One of the most powerful concepts in Stoicism is the idea of distinguishing between what's within our control and what isn't. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations that we should accept the things to which fate binds you, and love the people with whom fate brings you together, but do so with all your heart. This is essential to understanding how to deal with toxic people. While we can't control other people's behavior, we can control how we respond to them. We can choose not to engage in their negativity, not to let their actions sway us, and not to let them disturb our inner peace. Another key Stoic idea is that humans are not inherently good or bad. Rather, we all have the potential to either act in accordance with virtue or fall into vice. Virtue, in Stoicism, is about living in harmony with nature, reason, and logic, and striving for excellence in our thoughts and actions. When people act toxic, it's often because they are acting out of negative emotions: fear, anger, greed, jealousy, and so on. These are the vices that, according to Stoic thought, can cloud our judgment and lead us astray. The Stoics believe that by cultivating virtues such as wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance, we could better navigate the difficulties that arise in our relationships and in our lives. Stoicism isn't about ignoring the bad in the world. It's about recognizing the bad and choosing not to let it control us. When we understand that toxic people are often driven by their own inner turmoil, we can approach them with empathy and perspective, without letting their behavior shake our foundations. Now that we've framed the Stoic perspective on human nature, let's start looking at the signs that someone may be toxic and how the wisdom of the Stoics can guide us through these challenges. Whether it's someone in your personal life or a colleague at work, recognizing these signs can help you respond in a way that preserves your own peace without getting caught up in their emotional drama. Let's dive in. Sign 1. They constantly create drama. Have you ever found yourself caught up in drama that you didn't create, but somehow it seems to keep swirling around you? A toxic person loves this environment. They thrive on it. It's almost as if they feed off chaos, stirring things up wherever they go, keeping the tension high and the emotional stakes even higher. You know the type. Someone who always seems to be at the center of conflict, whether it's an argument, a misunderstanding, or even a situation that could have been resolved easily, but suddenly it's a full-blown crisis. They make mountains out of molehills, always exaggerating issues, never letting things settle down. They might start a small disagreement and somehow escalate it into a dramatic ordeal, or they may spread rumors, create unnecessary rivalries, or pull others into their emotional mess. This type of behavior is exhausting, right? And here's where Stoic wisdom can help us respond with clarity and composure. According to Epictetus, one of the most well-known Stoic philosophers, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. The first key takeaway here is that while the toxic person may stir up drama around you, don't have to be drawn into it. You have control over how you respond. The Stoics teach us the importance of focusing on our own inner state, rather than being swayed by external chaos. Marcus Aurelius often reflected on how people can only disturb our peace if we let them. This is why, in the face of drama, a Stoic would focus on maintaining their calm and practicing detachment. Rather than getting entangled in the other person's emotional turmoil, we learn to distance ourselves from it and maintain a sense of composure. This doesn't mean we ignore the situation entirely. Instead, we recognize that our emotional response is something within our control. When dealing with drama, one Stoic technique that can be particularly helpful is applying the dichotomy of control. It's a simple yet powerful tool. Ask yourself, can I control the situation, or is it beyond my control? If the answer is that it's beyond your control, then it's not worth your energy to try to fix it. Focus instead on what you can control: your thoughts, your response, your peace of mind. In the face of drama, your emotional well-being is always within your control. Let's think about a real-life scenario. Maybe you're at work, and a colleague keeps stirring up conflict between departments, or they drag you into their personal problems. You could easily find yourself caught up in their drama, but remember, the Stoic way is to disengage emotionally. You might say to yourself, this person's behavior is not something I can change, but how I react is completely within my control. By doing so, you can remove yourself from the toxic situation without being affected by it. You are, in a sense, protecting your inner peace. So, if you find that someone in your life constantly creates drama, remember that you don't have to get caught up in it. Instead, follow the Stoic principle of emotional detachment. Focus on what you can control and keep your peace. Sign 2. They disrespect your boundaries. A toxic person's boundaries are like a loose guideline. They don't respect yours, and they don't maintain their own either. Whether it's emotionally, mentally, or even physically, toxic people have a tendency to cross lines, invade your space, and expect things from you without regard for your needs or comfort. Have you ever had someone continuously push you to do something you're uncomfortable with? Maybe they keep asking for favors even when you've already said no, or they ignore your personal time, demanding attention when you need space. This disregard for your boundaries isn't just disrespectful. It's emotionally draining. It wears you down and can make you feel like you're constantly giving without receiving. This is where Stoic wisdom becomes crucial. The Stoics understood the importance of setting boundaries, not in a rigid, defensive way, but in a calm, assertive manner that reflects self-respect and self-awareness. One of the key Stoic teachings is the idea of self-sufficiency, knowing who you are and what you need to thrive, and never compromising on those needs just to please others. Seneca, another prominent Stoic philosopher, believed that one must preserve their sense of self and their peace of mind at all costs. He wrote, "No man is free who is not master of himself." This includes maintaining control over our time, our emotional energy, and our personal space. If someone repeatedly disrespects your boundaries, they are not respecting your freedom. And in the Stoic view, this is a direct attack on your autonomy. The Stoic way of dealing with boundary violations is simple. Assert them calmly and confidently. Rather than becoming defensive, angry, or passive, you can gently but firmly communicate your limits. This is key. It's about being respectful and clear without apologizing for what you need. For example, if someone constantly interrupts you during your work hours, a Stoic response would be to calmly say, "I am focusing on my tasks now, and I can't engage in this conversation until later." There's no need for a long explanation or justification, just a clear statement of your boundary. Another powerful tool from Stoicism to maintain boundaries is practicing mindfulness and reflection. The Stoics were masters of introspection, and they encourage us to regularly evaluate our own behavior and relationships. Take a moment each day to reflect on how you're feeling. Are you giving too much of yourself to people who don't respect your time and energy? Are you allowing others to violate your boundaries? Without addressing it, by practicing self-awareness, you'll be able to identify when your boundaries are being tested and take action before you start feeling resentful or overwhelmed. In dealing with toxic individuals, it's essential to understand that boundaries aren't about creating walls. They're about preserving your emotional health. And by practicing the Stoic principles of self-sufficiency, mindfulness, and clear communication, you can safeguard your boundaries without feeling guilty or defensive. So, when someone continuously disrespects your boundaries, don't be afraid to assert them. Remember that the Stoics teach us that our peace of mind and well-being are worth protecting, and it's perfectly within your rights to expect respect and consideration from others. Sign 3. They manipulate and gaslight. Have you ever found yourself questioning your reality after a conversation with someone? Maybe they told you something that felt off, but when you tried to confront them, they denied it or twisted the truth. You start doubting your own memory, your feelings, and even your perception of events. This, my friend, is manipulation, and it's one of the most dangerous traits of a toxic person. Gaslighting, as it's called, can make you feel like you're losing your grip on reality, and it's all part of a toxic person's strategy to control and undermine you. Toxic individuals often manipulate others to serve their own interests, and they do so subtly, by making you second-guess yourself, creating confusion, and shifting the blame onto you. They might deny things they've said or done, accuse you of being overly sensitive or irrational, and constantly twist your words. Over time, this behavior can erode your confidence, leaving you unsure of yourself and constantly walking on eggshells. This is where Stoic wisdom can really help you protect yourself. In Stoic philosophy, clear judgment and discernment are crucial to maintaining peace of mind. As Marcus Aurelius put it in his Meditations, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. If you allow someone to manipulate your perception of reality, you're letting them take control of your inner peace. And the Stoics understood that the first step in combating manipulation is ensuring that your judgment remains clear and free from distortion. One of the key Stoic principles to apply in situations of manipulation is practicing awareness, being mindful of your thoughts and emotions. Stoics believe that we must cultivate a clear, logical mind to see things as they truly are, without being swayed by emotions or external pressures. When you feel manipulated or gaslight, step back and observe the situation calmly. Ask yourself, what's the objective reality here? What are the facts? How am I feeling and why? Epictetus, another great Stoic philosopher, taught that we should guard our thoughts and not let others shape them. If someone tries to manipulate your reality, it's important to recognize that their words or actions are outside of your control. What's in your control is your response. Your ability to remain grounded, your ability to trust your perception, and your ability to rely on reason to guide your thoughts. A Stoic approach to gaslighting might involve calmly calling out the manipulation without letting emotions take over. For instance, if someone denies something they said, you could respond by simply stating, "I remember the situation differently and I'm confident in my recollection." The key here is not to get caught up in a back and forth argument, but to stay centered in your truth and not let the toxic person shift the narrative. Another helpful Stoic tool in these situations is the idea of emotional detachment. This doesn't mean becoming cold or indifferent. It means creating enough distance from the toxic person's behavior so that you can respond logically rather than emotionally. By practicing detachment, you're not allowing their manipulation to control your emotions or cloud your judgment. When faced with manipulation or gaslighting, the Stoic approach is to stay anchored in reason, trust your perceptions, and maintain your sense of inner peace. By doing so, you reclaim control over your reality and prevent toxic individuals from distorting it. Sign 4. They lack empathy and compassion. One of the most striking characteristics of a toxic person is their complete lack of empathy and compassion. They may show little regard for your feelings or the feelings of others, often acting in ways that are self-centered, dismissive, or callous. This is especially painful because, as human beings, we all crave connection and understanding. But when a toxic person doesn't seem to care about how their actions affect you, it can feel like you're being seen as a means to an end, nothing more than a tool for their own benefit. A toxic person's lack of empathy often shows up in how they treat others. They may belittle your concerns, dismiss your emotions, or show no understanding when you're going through a difficult time. They might also use other people's vulnerabilities against them, showing no compassion or consideration for the pain they might cause. For example, they could exploit someone's weaknesses for their own gain, or use guilt as a tool to manipulate others into doing things for them. Stoic philosophy teaches us that human beings by nature are interconnected, that we share a common bond and are responsible for each other's well-being. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, frequently reflected on the idea that we are all part of a larger whole, and that part of being a virtuous human being is showing empathy and compassion towards others. He wrote, "What is not good for the beehive cannot be good for the bee." In other words, if you harm another person, you're ultimately harming yourself as well, because we are all part of the same human community. From a Stoic perspective, it's crucial to respond to a lack of empathy with both compassion and boundaries. While it can be difficult to understand someone who doesn't seem to care about your feelings, Stoicism encourages us to recognize that their behavior is a reflection of their own inner turmoil, not a judgment of our worth. Rather than reacting with anger or frustration, the Stoics would advise us to practice understanding and compassion while still protecting our emotional health. One Stoic practice that can help in these situations is sympathy, not in the sense of feeling sorry for someone, but in the sense of recognizing that we all have our struggles and flaws. Even a toxic person's lack of empathy likely stems from their own inner pain or unresolved issues. This doesn't mean we should tolerate their harmful behavior, but rather, we should try to respond with kindness and clarity without getting emotionally entangled in their toxicity. At the same time, the Stoics also teach us the importance of setting boundaries, especially when it comes to emotional energy. While we may understand that a toxic person's lack of empathy comes from their own issues, that doesn't mean we have to accept their behavior. Setting clear boundaries without guilt is an act of self-respect and self-care. If someone continually disregards your feelings, the Stoic approach is to maintain your own emotional equilibrium, show understanding for their struggles without excusing their behavior, and protect your own peace by setting firm boundaries. In doing so, you prevent their lack of empathy from impacting your sense of self-worth or well-being. By responding with both compassion and detachment, you can navigate these interactions without being dragged into their emotional chaos, all while maintaining your Stoic poise and grace. Sign 5. They are chronically negative. Have you ever been around someone who constantly seems to focus on the worst aspects of every situation? Maybe they have a pessimistic outlook on life, always expecting things to go wrong or finding flaws in everything. This negativity is infectious. It can drain your energy, shift your mood, and make you question your own sense of hope. Toxic people often thrive in negativity, feeding off the gloom they create. It becomes a cycle. They focus on the bad, and anyone around them is pulled into the storm. A toxic person's negativity doesn't just show up in big events. It's in the little things too. Every conversation seems to end in a complaint. Every situation has something wrong with it, and they never seem satisfied. No matter how much you try to bring positivity into the conversation or change the subject to something lighter, they always seem to steer it back toward the negative. And the worst part is that they often don't seem to want a solution. They simply want to complain. This type of chronic negativity is emotionally exhausting, and it's something the Stoics would strongly advise us to guard against. The Stoics believed in cultivating an attitude of resilience, where external circumstances, no matter how difficult, should not dictate our inner peace. According to Marcus Aurelius, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. In other words, challenges are a natural part of life, and instead of focusing on the negative aspects, we should focus on how to grow through adversity. One of the most powerful Stoic principles to apply when faced with chronic negativity is reframing. Reframing is the art of changing how we perceive a situation. When faced with negativity, a Stoic would acknowledge the difficulty, but would refuse to dwell on it. Instead of thinking, "This is terrible and it will never get better," they might think, "This challenge is an opportunity for growth. What can I learn from this?" The Stoics also emphasize the importance of focusing on what we can control and accepting what we cannot. In the context of negativity, this means recognizing that you can't control another person's attitude, but you can control your response. You can choose not to engage with their negativity, and you can actively bring your own positive energy into the space. For example, if someone constantly complains about work, you might acknowledge their frustrations, but instead of joining in the negativity, you could offer a positive perspective or change the subject to something constructive. By doing this, you're not only protecting your own peace, but you're also encouraging a shift away from the negativity that can bring the entire room down. Another Stoic practice to manage negativity is the principle of equanimity. Equanimity is the ability to remain calm and balanced, no matter what external circumstances arise. A Stoic would focus on maintaining a steady, even-tempered response, regardless of how much negativity someone else is projecting. It's about creating mental space between the event and your reaction, ensuring that their negativity doesn't have the power to disrupt your peace. When dealing with chronic negativity, the Stoic approach is to maintain your inner peace by reframing situations, focusing on solutions, and staying calm in the face of external turbulence. Instead of feeding into the cycle of complaint and despair, you choose to focus on the positive aspects of life and look for opportunities to grow and learn. Sign 6. They are self-centered and inconsiderate. One of the clearest signs you're dealing with a toxic person is when they are consistently self-centered and inconsiderate of your needs, feelings, and time. These individuals see the world through their own lens, and everything revolves around their desires and needs. They expect others to cater to them, without regard for what others might be going through. Whether it's asking for favors without offering anything in return or disregarding your schedule entirely. They operate as if their wants are always the most important thing in the room. Toxic individuals with self-centered tendencies rarely consider the impact of their actions on others. They may interrupt you during conversations, dominate discussions, or make decisions without consulting you. In relationships, they often expect you to give without reciprocating, assuming that your time, energy, and resources are theirs to take. Over time, this can leave you feeling drained, unappreciated, and even resentful. From a Stoic perspective, a self-centered individual is someone who is not living in harmony with nature or virtue. Stoicism teaches that we should all strive to be just and considerate, understanding that the world doesn't revolve around our individual desires. The Stoic philosophers emphasize that our actions should be guided by reason and respect for others, not by selfishness or ego. Marcus Aurelius often wrote about the importance of community and cooperation. In his Meditations, he reflects on the fact that we are all part of the same great whole, and as such, we should work together in a spirit of kindness and mutual respect. He wrote, "What is not good for the beehive cannot be good for the bee." This means that we must act with the understanding that our well-being is intertwined with the well-being of others. When we are self-centered and inconsiderate, we disrupt this balance and harm ourselves in the process. The Stoic response to self-centeredness is to practice virtue, especially the virtues of justice and wisdom. Justice, in this context, means considering the needs of others and ensuring that your actions don't harm or inconvenience them. Wisdom involves recognizing when someone's self-centered behavior is causing harm and responding with grace and assertiveness. Instead of allowing their behavior to affect you negatively, a Stoic would calmly address the situation and, if necessary, set firm boundaries. For instance, if someone repeatedly asks for your time and energy without offering anything in return, the Stoic response would be to recognize your own needs and calmly communicate them. You might say, "I value our relationship, but I need to focus on my own responsibilities right now, so I can't assist you at this moment." This is an act of self-respect, and it's not about being harsh or dismissive. It's about maintaining your own emotional balance and ensuring that your time and energy are respected. In dealing with a self-centered person, the Stoic approach is to maintain your own sense of justice and balance. By setting clear boundaries and treating others with respect, you protect yourself from being drained by someone else's selfishness, and you maintain your own inner peace. As you navigate relationships with toxic individuals, remember that Stoic wisdom offers powerful tools for managing difficult situations. By staying centered in your own values, practicing self-control, and maintaining a calm and virtuous response, you can protect your peace, set healthy boundaries, and avoid being dragged into negativity and manipulation. The Stoics believe that our peace of mind is a reflection of how we choose to respond to the world around us. And in the face of toxicity, your response is your greatest power. How to protect yourself from toxic people using Stoic wisdom. Now that we've explored the 6 key signs of a toxic person, you might be wondering, how can I protect myself from these individuals? It's one thing to recognize their behaviors, but how do you safeguard your mental and emotional well-being when faced with their presence in your life? That's where Stoic wisdom becomes a powerful ally. The Stoics were not naive about the difficulties of human interactions. They understood that we cannot always avoid toxic people, and sometimes we must interact with them for various reasons, whether in the workplace, in family situations, or social circles. But what they did teach us was that our response to these interactions is what truly matters. The core Stoic idea here is to focus on what is within your control, your thoughts, reactions, and emotions. Everything else, including the behavior of toxic people, is beyond your control. This distinction is crucial because it shifts the focus away from trying to change others, which is often an impossible task, and instead empowers you to take charge of your own mental state. So, how do you apply the Stoic perspective to real-life situations with toxic people? Let's break it down. Practice emotional detachment. One of the most effective Stoic tools for protecting yourself from toxic people is emotional detachment. This doesn't mean becoming cold or indifferent. It means learning to separate your emotions from the other person's behavior. When you encounter a toxic individual, instead of reacting emotionally to their negativity or manipulation, pause and reflect. Ask yourself, how much control do I have over their behavior? The answer is none. However, you have complete control over how you choose to respond. Emotional detachment helps you preserve your peace and not get caught up in their drama. This is not about shutting off your empathy or compassion, but about preventing their toxicity from disrupting your inner calm. By practicing detachment, you create a space between their words or actions and your response,
allowing you to react thoughtfully and with purpose. Focus on what you can control. The dichotomy of control, a central Stoic teaching, is incredibly powerful when dealing with toxic people. This principle reminds you that you can only control your thoughts, reactions, and behaviors. Everything else is beyond your influence. When you find yourself dealing with someone toxic, ask yourself, what can I control in this situation? If the toxic person is disrespecting your boundaries, for example, you can control how you assert those boundaries. If they are manipulating or gaslighting you, you can control how you respond to them, whether you confront them with clarity or choose to disengage. If they are chronically negative, you can control how much you engage with their negativity and whether you bring your own positive energy to the situation. By focusing on what's within your control, you shift your attention from the toxic person's behavior to your own actions. This not only reduces your stress, but also empowers you to navigate these interactions with wisdom and grace. Set boundaries with clarity and compassion. The Stoics were not advocates of being passive or allowing others to walk all over us. Instead, they encourage us to maintain a strong sense of self-respect and to set boundaries in a calm, assertive manner. This is especially important when dealing with toxic individuals who constantly overstep your limits. Setting boundaries doesn't mean being harsh or confrontational. It means clearly communicating your needs and expectations. Stoic philosophers like Seneca emphasize that boundaries are essential for maintaining peace of mind. For example, if a toxic person is demanding your time or emotional energy, you can respond by calmly stating, "I need time for myself right now," or "I am not able to assist with this at the moment." Remember, Stoicism teaches that you are worthy of respect and that your emotional well-being should not be compromised by others' behaviors. By setting boundaries with clarity and compassion, you not only protect yourself, but also model healthy behavior for others. Reflect and practice self-awareness. Stoicism places a high value on self-awareness and reflection. Each day, the Stoics will reflect on their actions, thoughts, and behaviors to ensure they were living in alignment with their values. In dealing with toxic people, this practice of reflection is incredibly important. Take time to check in with yourself and ask, how am I feeling after interacting with this person? What impact is their behavior having on my peace of mind? Self-awareness allows you to recognize when you are being drained by a toxic person or situation. If you notice that a particular individual is repeatedly causing you stress or discomfort, it may be time to reevaluate the relationship. Self-reflection helps you identify patterns in your interactions, allowing you to make conscious decisions about how to protect your emotional energy, cultivate virtue, and focus on your own growth. Ultimately, the Stoic goal is not to change others, but to focus on our own personal growth and development. The Stoics believe that we cannot control the actions of others, but we can always control how we respond. This focus on self-improvement and virtue is key when dealing with toxic people. When you focus on cultivating virtues like wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance, you become less affected by the negativity or toxic behavior around you. For example, practicing wisdom allows you to see toxic behavior for what it is, and practicing courage gives you the strength to set boundaries and stand firm in your values. Temperance helps you maintain emotional balance, even when others are trying to pull you into their chaos. By focusing on your own growth and aligning your actions with your values, you become less vulnerable to the toxicity of others. You create a solid foundation of inner strength that cannot be shaken by external forces. Conclusion: building inner peace amid toxicity. As we've seen throughout this video, Stoic wisdom offers invaluable tools for navigating relationships with toxic individuals. By focusing on what you can control, your thoughts, emotions, and responses, you can protect your peace and maintain your inner balance, even in the most challenging situations. The Stoics taught us that we have the power to shape our experience of the world, and this includes our interactions with others. When you encounter a toxic person, remember that their behavior does not define you. You have the ability to choose how you respond, and by practicing emotional detachment, setting clear boundaries, and focusing on your own growth, you can protect yourself from their negativity. The Stoics believe that our peace of mind is our most valuable possession, and it's something that should be guarded fiercely. So, the next time you find yourself dealing with a toxic person, remember that you are in control of how you respond. Use the tools of Stoic wisdom to maintain your calm, protect your boundaries, and continue your journey of self-improvement. Your peace is worth it, and with the wisdom of the Stoics, you can navigate even the most difficult relationships with grace and resilience. Thank you for watching. If you found this video helpful, I'd love to hear about your experiences in the comments below. How have you used Stoic wisdom in your own life to deal with toxic people? Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content on how philosophy can improve your daily life. Stay wise, stay strong, and protect your peace.